Hey, we are live. We've got people coming into the room. Let's start it out. There we go. 316 people. We've got some more rolling in. So yeah, Tom, why don't you go ahead and start us out? You can kind of talk about what we're doing here today, and then I'll introduce our panel.
Tom,
Here, yeah.
Tom's voice.
This happens from time to time. Try just exiting out and come back in. I'll start getting everybody introduced, and then he can come back through. So hi, everybody. I see everybody's coming in. We've got about 500 people here now. My name is Chloe Sutton. I'm a two-time Olympic swimmer, and I'm the vice president of Fitter and Faster. Fitter and Faster is just helping NCAP kind of host this really, really special webinar, special event. So we thank you all for being here. We're really, really excited to have everyone here. So Tom Ugast, you're owner of NCAP. He might be having just a little bit of audio issues, but that happens sometimes. Tom, can you hear you yet? He can hear us, but I don't think you guys can't hear him, right?
No.
Katie, can we hear you? I want to make sure everybody else we can hear. Yes. Okay, we got everybody else. So yeah, sorry, Tom, I wish I could do something, but maybe he'll be able to figure it out and pop back in with us. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce your panel of coaches. First of all, we've got Coach Jeremy Lin. He's also a 1996 Olympian in the 100 breaststroke and the head site coach for Nation's Capital West training sites. Jeremy's been with NCAP for over 10 years, and he swam at Tennessee during his college years. So welcome, Jeremy. We're so happy to have you here. How are you doing today?
Happy to be here. Excited to have a great conversation with Katie and Tim.
Yeah, awesome. And then we got Tim Kelly. Tim is the head site at our American University facility. He works closely with Mary Dowling and Holton Arms. He also works closely with Yuri in Katie's early years with the club. He swam at Southern Illinois University and was the assistant coach at Purdue and then the head coach at Davidson prior to joining NCAP. Hi, Tim. How are you doing over there?
I'm doing well. Thanks, Chloe, for having us and letting us use your platform. We appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Awesome. And then we've got Katie, what is it? Is it Ledecky? I'm just kidding. I've known Katie for a very long time. We raced together for the first time back in 2012, or maybe even before then, maybe 2011, possibly in distance freestyle. So we're distance freestyle sisters. So Katie grew up at NCAP as an age group swimmer. I'm sure most of you guys knew that. Starting at the age of 7. She and her brother Michael swam with us at AU, Holton, and Georgetown prep sites. She competed at the 2012 Olympic London Games in the 800 freestyle and won the gold medal in that at the age of 15. She attended Stone Ridge School of the Sacred Heart and continues to train at Georgetown Prep through the 2016 Rio Olympics before leaving for Stanford. And she now resides in Palo Alto, where she trains with Coach Greg, who's the women's head coach and head coach for Tokyo. Welcome, Katie.
Thanks, Chloe. It's good to see you.
Yeah.
Chloe and I were on the 2012 Olympic team together and 2013 World Championship team, right?
Yeah.
And I haven't seen you recently, but we'll have to get together.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's been a little while, but it's great to see you. So I want to say before we get started, you guys are welcome to throw some questions over into the chat. I see a lot of you guys are writing in. If I see too many people spamming, so if you send the same message over and over, then I will kick you out. If you start sending really random stuff, I will kick you out. So I just want to keep that chat over there really relevant. So please keep it to questions or comments on what we're talking about here today, and leave out some of the silliness. You know, it'll just help so that we can keep this conversation flowing smoothly. And if I do have to kick you out, no, it's nothing personal. I still love you. We just want to keep that chat nice and clean. So, so yeah, I'll go ahead. You guys, Coach Tim and Jeremy, you guys can go ahead and take it away.
All right. Well, obviously, when Tom, and hopefully if Tom gets back on, I know he wanted to thank Chloe and Fitter and Faster and David Arluck for really letting us do this. You know, we've done it a couple weeks with smaller groups, and obviously Zoom couldn't handle the big group that we knew that Katie would bring. And so Jeremy did it a couple weeks ago with me, and so when the thought came up to do it with the whole club, we decided we would tandem the questions. And I don't know about the rest of you, but I geek out when it comes to talking about you, Katie. Even though we got to watch you grow up, we still it's so much fun. And every time someone mentions your name, it brings a smile to people's face. And not because you're the greatest swimmer in the world, but because you're a better person than you are a swimmer. And I think every time our coaching staff talks about you, it diverts right away from swimming and goes to the person you are. So a testament to, we'll get into a little more, how you grew up with your parents and your family, your brother Michael, and it's just something we're, Jeremy and I are just really excited to be here to chat with you about. So let me start with just the basics, Katie, which we ask everybody is, what are you doing right now, and where are you? And I know a lot of people who've been watching you online probably know some of these general questions, but there are a lot of people that probably don't. What are you doing right now?
Well, yeah, thanks, Tim, and thanks for the kind words. And I have so many great memories from NCAP with you and Jeremy and Yuri and Bruce and all my coaches before that too. So I'm excited to chat about it today. Right now I am in California still, out by Stanford. I live off campus, so I'm just in my apartment, and I've been lucky enough to be able to swim a little bit in a neighbor's backyard pool. So I've been able to stay in the water a little bit, stay active, doing dry land in my apartment. I have lots of bands and weights and mats lying around my apartment.
You've had to be pretty creative with everything.
Yeah, just trying to be creative. I know, everyone's posting up what they're doing, and it's kind of fun to see what everyone's doing to stay creative and stay active. I'm also taking some classes during this time. Stanford is doing online classes right now, so I started the spring quarter a couple weeks ago. I'm about halfway through that quarter, so that's going well. That's been really nice to be able to do that, stay really busy, keep my mind active, and work towards finishing up my degree.
What is your degree going to be in?
Sorry, what's that?
What is your degree going to be in?
I'm majoring in psychology.
Awesome. That's mine.
Oh.
Yeah.
I got a question for you. You said some classes. How many hours are you taking this semester?
I'm taking 20 units.
Yeah, that's not some classes. That's a lot.
4 classes.
That's good. That's awesome. So, Katie, getting the opportunity to watch you grow up and, go through and just tell people, obviously, our club is, in what we call the summer league heaven. It's Chloe, you grew up, this area. I mean, summer league is huge. And tell us a little bit about how you got into swimming. We'd love to hear the Palisades stories and whatnot. How did you get involved in swimming?
Yeah, I started swimming when I was 6 years old for the Palisades Porpoises in the Montgomery County Swim League. And I had learned how to swim before that. My mom made sure that my brother and I were comfortable in the water and kind of learned how to swim a little bit of freestyle. But, I started swimming when I was 6 years old. My brother was 3 years older than me, so he was 9. And my first goal in summer league swimming was just to finish a 25 free without having to stop on the lane line. I always took, a couple strokes, grabbed the lane line, wiped my nose.
Did mom or dad share that video that went out? Was that your mom or dad that put that out?
Yeah, my dad was always the one behind the camera, but he I think captured my first race when I was 6 years old at Palisades time trials. We have lots of video from the B meets and the A meets. So by the end of my first year of summer league swimming, I could make it across the pool without stopping. And then that fall, my brother and I joined NCAP. We joined the developmental group at AU in the 3-lane 20-yard pool. Mm-hmm. And then I stayed in that group when my brother quickly moved up to the, I guess, intermediate or age group group. I don't remember what it was called back then. But he quickly advanced to that group. I stayed in the developmental group for a couple more months and then joined the 8 and under team. And yeah, then we were on NCAP our whole swimming careers. And yeah, that's
how long did you stay with the summer league? Did you continue to do that all the way through high school?
I swam every year from age 6 to 14, and then the year of the 2012 Olympics I missed. So I don't think I swam any.
Were you busy that summer?
I don't think I swam any summer league that year. And then kind of the years after that, so when I was 16, 17, 18, I swam a couple meets here and there, just maybe once per year, or, just tried to squeeze one in here and there in between world championships and other big meets like that. So, yeah, but most of my swimming career, I swam summer league.
Yeah, it's obviously it's what gets a lot of people in this sport, and it's fun to watch. I still laugh when I watch the video, and I gotta believe it was one of your mom or dad that put it online, or did you actually put it online?
I think USA Swimming asked for some video, and so we sent it to them. Because I think my dad interviewed me after my first race, and he was like, "How was that?" I said, "Oh, it was hard, but it was fun." I was kind of this dual mindset, I guess, where on the one hand it was hard, but I had this big smile on, and my big goggles, and yeah, just really happy.
That's so cool. I obviously knowing your mom, and it's funny, this week I was sitting chatting with a parent, and they swam for Palisades, and actually they were the reason why, after talking with your mom when the kids were they were little, like 6 or 7 years old, and they, your mom said, "Oh yeah, you should go over and swim for NCAP," and sure enough, the next year they swam with us. And it's just interesting. Your mom was always, in our LSC, always such an ambassador, even after you left and whatnot. It's kind of easy to see how, now you're such an ambassador for the sport. Tell us a little bit about, what it's got to be pretty cool. I know when you were little, you were, you were in, you read, you were online all the time, and you're very, you are a student of the sport. So it's got to be pretty cool now looking at yourself and saying, "Oh, wow, I'm, when I was 10, I was looking at people like this." What does that feel to be, an ambassador to the sport?
Yeah, it's an honor, I guess. And it's something I don't take lightly. And I've really enjoyed these last couple of weeks being able to do some of these calls with some swim teams and answer some questions, especially since we're all kind of in the same boat right now with not knowing when our next practices or meets are going to be. But yeah, it's something that I guess I just kind of learned growing up. And as you said, my parents were very involved in the sport and really helped me grow through the sport. Always were volunteering. My mom was summer league A rep for Palisades for a number of years, and so she was always, coordinating the volunteers and all the swim team functions. So just really grew up loving the sport and loving how much time I got to spend with my parents through the sport. All the early morning drives to Holton or AU, or Tim, you probably remember the practices when my brother was in the group, higher, I guess, in your group. And I was swimming with Yuri, and I think your practices started maybe 30 or 45 minutes before our practices on Sunday mornings. And I would sit with my mom and Audrey Gould, whose brother also swam, in your group, and we would get kind of an extra hour at the pool early in the morning, and we spent a lot of time together watching through the glass the older swimmers.
I remember it well. I remember out at CB when you'd come in the morning. And,
that too, yeah.
Oh yeah, and you were always the first one there. And even after you were older and in Yuri's group and swimming, you were always the first one there. I will say you were always the first one in the water to do the lane ropes. You were the last one out of the water from doing the lane ropes. So that was kind of a neat thing. But I remember when you were 10 years old and we're practice at CB, and your practice didn't start till 6:30, so you probably got there about 6:15, 6:10, and you'd come over, and I remember Carolyn Coucher, who was coaching you at the time, and you would come in and you would tell us everybody's splits from, if it was the Santa Clara Grand Prix or at that time, I think it was even just the Santa Clara Invitational, but you'd come in and say, oh, such and such split this, and this each 50, and we'd all be looking like, wow. And then you'd proceed to tell us, yeah, she really fell apart on that third 50. If she could hold that third 50 a little, and it was, I think at 10 years old, yes, you were fast, but we already knew, wow, okay, if she's picking those things out of, I mean, honestly, you remember that. You were on the internet a lot. I remember you telling us, oh yeah, every day you'd come in and tell us something new. Was that kind of the start that, really you knew, hey, I could be good at this. I want to be good at this. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, as you said, I guess I kind of grew up as a student of the sport. I loved, reading the swimming magazines and watching any of the big swim meets that were online. Not a lot of them, I guess, were on TV when I was growing up, but, they would live stream the Grand Prix meets and the duel in the pools and the World Championships and all those things. And I loved watching them and just watching people race and represent our country. And I never thought I would make it there. I never pictured myself getting there until I got closer and I started qualifying for bigger and bigger meets. But I mean, when I was 10, I just loved watching it. And I don't remember what you're saying about talking about all these splits, but I know as I got older, as I got closer to going to Olympic trials and things like that, Yuri would sometimes send me videos of races to watch and races that he thought that I could learn from. And looking back on that, I think that was really helpful and kind of helped me believe that I could make it to that level and help me sort of visualize what it would be like to swim at a competition with that many spectators and all those things.
Yeah, it's interesting to me. Like, I remember a moment in time where there was a shift in my mindset where it was, one time it was like all these elite level swimmers that I followed and I was a student of. I really looked up to them, but I never thought of myself as somebody that could be one of them. It almost sounds like it just was kind of progressive for you. There wasn't a real shift in your mindset, or was there a moment in time where you can kind of feel that shift?
Yeah, I mean, as I said, I don't think when I was 6 years old, I wrote down as a goal, make the Olympics or call or win a gold medal or something like that. But as I got older, I qualified for sectionals and junior nationals and senior nationals. And I mean, I guess I could tell that I was qualifying for these meets at a younger age than a lot of my peers, a lot of my teammates. But again,
your first trial cut at the long days of summer meet in
North Carolina. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. I mean, it all those memories are so vivid in my mind. And it kind of happened pretty quickly. I qualified for Olympic trials in May of 2011 at that meet, the travel meet to North Carolina. I think you guys still go to that meet.
And right now, I love that meet, and just to imagine somebody swimming that outrageously fast at that meet. It was such an exciting moment for the coaching staff, and obviously a great one for your thought the way you remember things too.
Yeah, I think it was the 400 free that I qualified in at that meet. And I remember that meet kind of had a few different aspects to it. Like they did the chase starts, and I think they were doing combined men and women races. So I was swimming against some guys, which I don't know if that helped me or whatever. I mean, that was different and fun. And I remember qualifying for Olympic trials and that night not being able to really sleep, or I woke up the next morning and I was like, wow, I qualified for Olympic trials yesterday. It was kind of like at each level you get to, you kind of have that experience where, you qualify for the Olympics and you wake up the next morning and you have to remind yourself, oh, I qualified for the Olympics. Or when I broke my first American record or world record, it's the same kind of feeling where you have to pinch yourself. Again, because I never thought when I was younger that I would get to that point. But yeah, there's definitely a shift in that time between when I qualified for Olympic trials and when Olympic trials came around. That fall, Yuri and I sat down and had a goal meeting, and we were talking about Olympic trials and the different events. And he said, now, Katie, what would be the ultimate goal at Olympic trials? And I was very hesitant. I just kind of, put my head down, probably wasn't looking him in the eye. I was like, I don't know. I wasn't the best at communicating with my coaches back then too. Yuri actually made me do a journal and give it to him every week so that he could see some of the things I was thinking. But anyways, I said, I don't know. He said, Katie, what would be the ultimate goal at Olympic trials? And I said, make the Olympic team. And he said, okay, that's the goal. And we don't have to tell anybody about it. I'm not going to tell anybody about it. You don't have to.
Didn't tell anybody about it. He was aware.
And we're just gonna work towards it. And you've got a long career ahead of you, and let's just see what we can do this year. That's kind of what the mindset was. And I think we proceeded to talk through the different events and the different areas in my technique and in my training that we could improve on. And we didn't really talk about it anymore, from that meeting on until Olympic trials. And I think I just kind of started seeing myself progress and get closer to, putting myself in contention, to make the final, and then to, be in the top 3 or 4. And then I think going into trials, I was ranked 2nd or 3rd in 2 or 3 events. And so, I knew I had a shot, but again, I didn't put any pressure on myself that it was going to happen.
Unfortunately, so Yuri was supposed to be joining us, but like we said, the NCAA rules, his compliance center. So I really wish he were here, because I know Jeremy tells an amazing story of at Olympic trials where Yuri's up and said, Jeremy, why don't you tell us a story? I know our coaching staff loves to hear it. It's
certainly. I had interactions with both Katie and Yuri that week, and my memory of getting to spend like a little bit, like a moment in time with Katie the day before she raced and made the team. Yuri had her in the warm up pool doing 25s with fins on, and I happened to be exercising at the same time, and so I was kind of slide over and I start doing 25s with Katie, and trying to out-touch her. And she kind of engaged with me, and I got to talk to her about like how you finish fingertip to palm. And it was a great moment for me. I'm sure she's like, I don't remember this, but it was great. Really, when I think about that special time, it's such a great way for me to have it in memory that I got just a moment in time to interact with you. And then the next day, up at Olympic trials, there's 12,000 people in a basketball stadium, and it's nobody's on the deck except for the swimmers and the officials. There's 12,000 people there. the swimmers and coaches are just packed into a tiny space. And Yuri and I knew like he needed somebody to hold on to during this race. And, you know, so it's him and me and, you know, thousands of people around us, but it was just, you know, every stroke you took, it was getting closer and closer. And I'm getting excited and jumping up and down, and Yuri's just crumpling his heat sheet a little bit harder and a little bit harder every moment. And I Chloe, I got to send you this picture, because the moment she touches the wall and makes the team, there's Yuri with this cheat sheet all crumpled up like this, and you see me going, yeah, like it was just the most exciting moment. I mean, it was I mean, I can't tell you if it was exciting for you what you did for so many people that day, and that many days since we've gotten the opportunity, and it doesn't change. I have this tingle that goes up my spine when you start swimming, and it's like, you know, the excitement level grows with it, and it started that day. So it was just a really special moment to, you know, Yuri was my roommate at the meet, so it's kind of like just trying to keep each other sane and focused the whole time. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, I have such great memories from Olympic trials in 2012 and 2016 with that group. I mean, NCAP always has a big group there and lots of coaches on deck. So, yeah, I've seen that picture. That's a great picture. You guys in the stands. I wish I had looked over this. You know, I don't remember, you know, much after the race in Omaha in 2012, but I wish I had looked over at you guys after that and gotten a visual of it.
It's an exciting moment for all of us, I'm sure.
It was a lot of fun.
And can you kind of point that, like, the first time you make the team, I feel like that has to stand out a little bit compared to a lot of the other moments, because it's such a tremendous shift in the way your life's going to go. Like, you were an Olympic trial swimmer, you know, 5 minutes ago. Now you're an Olympic team member. You know, it just changes. Everything changes so fast, and you're kind of swept away into this amazing world. You know, tell us what follows. Like, when you make a team, what happens?
Yeah, I don't remember much of the race in Omaha in 2012. I remember more from London, but I do remember some of the stuff after qualifying and just finding out, you know, what I do next. You know, you have kind of, I think the Olympic coaches, so is, you know, Terry McKeever was the head women's coach in 2012. I think she, you know, came up to me and gave me an envelope, you know, basically saying welcome to the team and congratulated me. And then, I mean, it was just kind of a whirlwind of different things. I remember celebrating with my family afterwards. I had about 30 or 40 cousins and aunts and uncles and everyone at
backyard, isn't it?
They just all came out because they thought that, you know, Omaha was going to be our Olympics. It's kind of how it was everyone was thinking. And it was really nice to have all of them there. And I think they were all so surprised and shocked. And, you know, we had a lot of fun just eating pizza together and celebrating the day after. And then, so the 800 free, I think, was the second to last day of competition. And so on the last day of competition in Omaha, they always introduce the entire Olympic team. And then that next morning, the Olympic team comes together for our first practice together. So I remember that, just kind of being with all those swimmers that I'd looked up to for so long and all these coaches. And I remember Yuri telling me about how John Urbanchek was going to be my coach during that time. And I met John and felt really comfortable about that. And then after Omaha, you know, I got about a week at home, which was nice to kind of reset and get my bearings and understand what was ahead of me. And then I
3 weeks later, right, was the games, right?
What's that?
3 weeks later was the Olympic Games, right?
Yeah, 3 or 4 weeks. So we went to Tennessee, Jeremy Ural stomping grounds for training camp. And then we went to Vichy, France, and then to London. And, you know, Yuri wasn't with me for much of that. He was there for a few days in Tennessee. They allow other coaches to come, but I John Urbanchek was my coach there and took me under his wing. All the veteran swimmers, Chloe was there. I just felt like I had all these new teammates that I had the pleasure of getting to know. And I loved just, in London, I only had the one race, and it was nice to just kind of have a front row seat watching the Olympics. As I said, I loved watching swimming growing up. And so just having that front row seat was really cool, let alone competing later in the competition.
15 years old and you're at the Olympics. It's got to be pretty like eye-opening, like, wow, I'm really here. Tell us, obviously then going back in 2016, who, do a little name dropping. Obviously, I think it's so cool. You probably got a chance to talk to Bob Costas. Obviously, you get a good chance to talk to Rowdy a lot, but you always hear the stories. I mean, anybody who watches the internet saw your little post this week with Michael Jordan. Tell us about, who did you meet at the Olympics when you were there? Like, you were like, wow, I know that person and that person, and name drop for us a little bit.
Well, in 2012, I walked in opening ceremonies, and before we went to the venue for opening ceremonies, Team USA kind of congregates down by our apartment building in the Olympic Village, and the basketball players, I don't think they were staying in the Village in 2012. So they came over, though, just to have the experience of seeing the team and being with the team. And I think the swimmers, we were being very, very nice and not, getting in line and getting photos with them. And I think they kind of noticed that. And there was one point where we were sitting on this bench, and LeBron James just came over and sat right on the bench. And I think I was on the end of the bench. So he was basically like, sitting right next to me. And there were, met some of the other basketball players, and the basketball players historically have a pretty close relationship with the swimmers. I think there's something, I think the story is that Coach K is a big fan of USA Swimming and how it's an individual sport, but we always show how we're able to come together as a team at the Olympics, and he likes his athletes to see that. So that's the story I've been told. I don't know if it's true, but anyways, they came to watch the races on the night that I was competing in London. So I didn't get to interact with them as much, but they saw me swim, which was cool.
That's they didn't get you after that.
And then in 2016, they came and watched 1 or 2 nights of the swimming as well. So there I actually got to meet them. They were able to come down on deck somehow and get some pictures with us. So that was cool.
One of the best things that happened to me was it was in the United States. So we had movie stars come in. I met Muhammad Ali and Bruce Willis and Demi Moore. I mean, it was just, they were firing at you all the time. I do remember, though, that a lot of opportunity opened up for me post-Olympics just to do some really neat stuff. And I'm sure that you had a lot more opportunity to do some really kind of cool stuff after the Olympics. So is there any really standout things experience-wise that you feel like swimming has afforded you?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, you just kind of get inundated with a lot of requests and opportunities after the Olympics, especially that first month.
Yeah.
Month or two is very busy. But I think my very first visit in 2012 after the Olympics was actually just next door to my high school. I went to Walter Reed Medical Center and met some of the wounded warriors that were there. And I'll always remember that because that was the first time that I put the medal on somebody else. And for that to be a wounded warrior, that was really special and really cool. And then, I mean, I was a sophomore in high school coming out of London. And so it's not like I had too much time to do a lot of different things. I kind of just got back to school, but that's kind of, those are the memories that I really love. My school had a big assembly where they kind of celebrated the Olympics, and I got to just tell some stories, answer all the burning questions that my high school classmates had, and share all of those moments with them. That was probably the best out of anything. And then, of course, we had the White House visit, and since I was from DC, the White House actually reached out and told me that I could bring like 10 or 12 of my high school friends. And so that was incredible.
A party at the White House, right? A party at the White House, huh?
Yeah. So that was incredible. And again, just moments I'll never forget. Very special.
That's so cool. One of the neat things for us, being here in DC, was seeing you get off, the plane when you first got back to DC, and all your high school friends with signs and swarm you. That was a pretty neat. I think just little things that I remember. And they did this in Bethesda. They had they didn't plan for enough people, but do you remember when they had the little downtown Bethesda? They kind of
yeah.
And it was just people filtering out onto Wisconsin, and it was pretty neat. Some pretty cool stuff. You've always been a very team person, and obviously from Bob Walker, your high school coach, would you were the biggest cheerleader at a meet. I guarantee that Greg would probably say the same thing at Stanford, and I know hearing from national team coaches, you're that leader. What does that mean to you, being a part of the U.S. national team? Being a part of an Olympic team. What is that? Take us through those experiences from I don't think it when I first started thinking about this question, and I ask a lot of people it, but this is just you. This is what you did in high school. It's what you did in college. It's what you do, now. I'm sure. What does that mean to be a part of a team to you?
I think it's something that I learned at NCAP and through high school, as you said. We had some incredible relay teams growing up, and NCAP always placed an emphasis on those relay teams. We would always check the pink and blue sheets for what relay we were going to be on, the A, B, C, or D relay, and broke all those national age group records, and had some really great teammates over the years. So I think it started with that, really, along with Palisades and all of the team aspects of summer league swimming and relays there. But I think just that relay emphasis stuck with me, and that really brings a team together, and felt that in high school as well. Some great teammates, and then at the Olympics and in high school and college. It's been fun to be a part of some really great teams. I think these past two Olympic teams, I think, I don't think I'm just saying this because I've been a part of them, but I think some outsiders and some of the swimmers that have been on multiple Olympic teams before that have said that those two teams were really special teams, and how we were able to come together. And you could see that from the Call Me Maybe video and the carpool karaoke that we did in 2016, and just the overall camaraderie. Some of those shots in 2016 of the team celebrating. I think that NBC picked up during the races of somebody touching the wall in the team area going nuts. There's just always been that emphasis, and I've been very lucky to be a part of some really special teams, and I always want to do my part, I guess.
You do your part. Even in 100, you swam on a 400 free relay.
I did in Rio. That was something that I didn't really expect, I think, in the year leading up to that. But Bruce really made me believe that I could be a part of that relay, and just improved in the 100 free over the course of the year. And if you're going to throw me on the anchor of a prelims 400 free relay next to, Kate Campbell or whoever it was from Australia, I'm going to give it my best. And that was pretty crazy. I'll never forget the feeling of the waves during that race. That's something that I don't experience in distance races, that, where all these sprinters are hitting the wall at the same time and you feel this rush of the wave. It's different at that level too. And it's something that I'll always remember that.
I don't know if you get nervous, Katie, but I would venture to guess that if you did, that might be the moment. What do you think? No, you get nervous races?
Well, that was my first. Yeah, I swam the prelims race. That was the first day in Rio, and then after the prelims race went really well, I was put on the finals race, and I think after the prelims race, I was fine and knew that I could do it again. And having those good races from the start kind of kickstarted my week, and I knew that I was on, and nothing was really going to stop me, and I was going to be able to achieve my goals.
That's awesome.
You have pretty intentional plans for every swim. Like, you're planning on a daily basis to do things. When you put out that great swim that Tim and I would go, that's the perfect swim, it couldn't have been any better. Do you feel that way about your swims, or do you get out and go, I should have done this or should have done that, even though, yeah, okay, I broke the world record, but I see 4 spots where I could have done a better job, or it wasn't quite my plan? Do you feel like that happens to you, and do you look at that as failure, and is failure a part of your process towards getting better?
Oh yeah, I mean, there are always things to work on, and I don't believe in a perfect race. I don't believe that there ever will be one. There have been races that I've been super happy with, and world records and things like that. And maybe I don't look at the areas I need to improve on, right after that race. You can kind of celebrate that, or kind of start focusing on the next race. Usually swimming multiple races at these meets. So you kind of have to focus on the next race. But after the meet's over, I usually do a good job of kind of looking at all the different races, looking at race video, race stats, splits, all those different things, and trying to find, that extra 1/10 of a second, or, how can I clean up my turns? How can I clean up my stroke, my start, whatever it is. I've always tried to look for those different things. I think, one specific thing that I think a lot of distance swimmers don't think about very much is working on your start. And that's something that I really improved over the last couple of years, and leading up to Rio. I think that's something that really helped me with my 100 and 200 freestyle as well. And kind of felt like that gave me a bit of an edge in the distance races, because I knew that
you use your kickouts really well now too. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a big emphasis. And I mean, honestly, my kickouts have been pretty good since I was, in Carolyn or Yuri's group. It's just a matter of convincing me to use them. So yeah, you kind of have to find a balance in the distance races of how much to use them, because you're losing oxygen. But in the 200 free, 400 free, those are races that trying to use those more as a little bit of a weapon.
That's cool. Katie, I would, obviously we're going to get to questions in a second, but I would be, I would be cheating some of the people that, the Gavins and Sowie, I mean, Bruce's son, there's some people, I can, speaking of Andrew, I can remember being at a meet at the Woodlands, Texas. You guys just came down from altitude, and I can remember sitting on the bench. I can't remember, was it 800? I think it was the mile was first, right? In that meet, do you remember? And so you dove in, and at about the 350, I looked at the split and I said to Andrew, I said, huh. And he looked at me, he goes, wow. And then the next thing came out of both of our mouths was, I think we're watching something pretty special here. And then as you proceeded to, kind of every 100 be under world record pace, and we kind of got the world records out on our phone and started looking, it was like, it's such a neat thing having seen, and I know I mentioned Gavin and Sally, you put a lot of time in the pool going back and forth against those two, and as well as others, the Grant Goddards and all those people that swam with you back in the day. But it's fun to, whenever I see you on something and you're talking, I think about those guys, and I think about, number one, how special it was for all of you guys, to do the things you do. Thanks for everything, at NCAP that, because, even to this day, I know, someone like Phoebe sees you at a meet, and I mean, it's like she feels like it's a big sister, and thanks for your impact that you've had on NCAP. I didn't want to forget to say that at the end after the question. So those are the things that to us that are, we'll always remember those things.
Impact too. It's not something that goes away. I mean, the kids really feel like you're a part of what they do, and they see it as possible because you're a part of our team. So you inspire even the ones you've never met, and it's a really special thing. And certainly thank you is the best thing we can say.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, Tim, those teammates mean so much to me, and I've stayed in really close contact with some of them. I did a FaceTime a couple of weeks ago with Christina and Haley and Emily, and we sent a picture to Yuri and Bruce just to show that we were all getting together, and text with a couple others here and there, and maybe we'll do a big Zoom call or something with all of us at some point. But so many hours in the pool, early mornings with that group. We were just telling tons of just different, just silly stories that stick with you. And it's fun when I go home for the holidays and swim with Bruce. And I don't know a lot of the swimmers anymore, or haven't really gotten to know them as well, but I can tell that they have that same sense of camaraderie and, have those same bonds with each other that I had at NCAP, and that's really fun to see.
And sometimes that's commiserate with each other too, right?
Exactly. Yeah, it's funny when I go back to Bruce's practices here and there, somebody will be warming down with me and social kicking and asking me questions about how to deal with some of Bruce's practices, or how to handle them, how to manage them. They ask about those things. So I try to give my best advice.
That's awesome. Well, good. Well, Chloe, why don't we open it up for some questions? And have you been watching? I'm sure.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, let's go ahead and open it up to some questions. There have been a few good ones that have come through, but guys, feel free to type them in over on the right-hand side. Aiden asked, who was your favorite swimmer growing up? Did you have anybody you really loved to watch or look up to?
Oh, yeah. I mean, just growing up in the Potomac Valley area, there were so many swimmers at that top level. I remember, before we even joined NCAP, I think that first summer of Summer League swimming, there was national championships held at the University of Maryland. And we got to watch Michael Phelps and a bunch of other Olympians and Olympic trials qualifiers. We got all of their autographs on a swim cap. I guess my brother's coach, Nicole. Did you know Nicole?
Yeah,
Gamard?
I knew.
Yeah, I think she was working on deck at the pool, and she was able to get us, a bunch of these autographs and link us up with some of these swimmers. So looked up to all of them, and honestly, apart from looking up to some of these Olympians and watching lots and lots of swimming growing up, I also just looked up to some of the older swimmers on NCAP, like the 17, 18-year-olds in Tim's group, and the college swimmers that would come home for the summers and swim with us, and just loved kind of watching them swim and learning from them and hearing all their stories about swimming in college or swimming in high school or whatever it is. It's just always fun to hang out with the older kids. I guess I got to do that a little more, maybe because my brother was 3 years older than me and was in those groups sometimes. But yeah, just
I think you being that fast made it that
You were swimming at their meets too.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah. I do remember when you were 13 at your first like NCSAs.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had a rough first 1,000. So I think it's the only bad 1,000 I've seen you do. But
I think my 1,000 split in the mile the last day was probably faster. But yeah, I got better over the course of that meet. And yeah, so I was 13 in 8th grade, and all of those swimmers were in high school. I think I roomed with Jamie Cadis, who was a junior or senior in high school at the time, and I think after I won the mile, they started chanting "She's in 8th grade" or something. I was so embarrassed. Not embarrassed, but just I don't know.
Yeah,
I didn't know what to do or say.
So it's crazy.
Good for these guys to know that even you had a little trouble navigating NCSAs to start. It's not an easy atmosphere.
No, that's yeah, some of those big meets, when you go to them for the first time, it takes a little adjustment, kind of getting your bearings and understanding how the meet flows and understanding how to navigate warm-ups when it's crowded and all those things. But it really prepares you for the big meets, because warm-ups at the Olympics and World Championships are just as crowded.
Okay, so we have another question from Anderson. He asked, what has been the hardest part or season or phase of your swimming career?
Ooh, I don't know. I mean, there are ups and downs, and I think there was a point I remember when I was maybe 11 or 12 where it was a little harder, and whenever you're at the bottom of your age group, it's sometimes a little bit harder to kind of understand what your goals should be or those different things. But I've never had really a rock bottom kind of swimming experience where I've thought about quitting or anything. I think, there are certain meets that are sometimes harder than others. This past summer, World Championships in Gwangju, I got sick and had to scratch 2 events. That was really hard, but felt like I was able to rebound pretty well at the end of the competition, and going into this season, getting back into training went really well. So yeah, there are ups and downs. I remember swimming my first couple distance races and just kind of learning how to swim distance events, and I remember 1 or 2 brutal distance meets where I think I probably added a minute in my races. And yeah, there are times like that, and you just try to learn from them and move on to the next race or the next practice. Not every practice or every race is going to go as planned or how you want it to go. So you just have to learn from it the best that you can and continue to move forward towards your goals.
Yeah, I got to throw something out just because I said it earlier about the Woodlands, and it goes right in line with what you're talking about. When we came back from the Woodlands, and I don't know if you remember this at all, but that next Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and it wasn't until Friday that you actually, like, you were like getting killed by everybody for like 3 or 4 days. And I remember there's one of the young guys in my group was Fielding Fisher, and he'd always swim, in the group that you were in, and he was always, near the middle of the lane, and he, and that day he was passing you, and he came up after practice and he goes, was Katie having a bad day or was I that good? And it was amazing to see, as I think of most of the kids that I've coached, if they had that bad of a day, considering you just broke the world record, actually 2 world records of that meet, and on Saturday morning, sitting out at where is it, Congressional, at a practice, thinking, oh my God, there's nobody in the world better than this girl again. How how do you deal with those moments that are, where you feel like, oh, I can't do what I normally do? Do you get frustrated?
I mean, I've learned over the years that my first couple of practices coming out of a meet are pretty rough, especially a big meet like that. So, back then it was probably really pretty tough on me, and it still sometimes is, because, you can just kind of beat yourself up about it, knowing that you should be better, or, how is this happening? I just had such a great meet. I should be killing it in practice now. But I actually now, what I've tried to do over the last year is kind of manage that a little better and try to, take a day off coming out of a meet and just resetting out of the water so I don't have to experience the pain in the water. And that seems to help. So yeah, I think that's something that I've learned over the years too. And it's definitely something that's a challenge at times, and not every practice is, going to be a world beater. It's just trying to respond to the bad practices and come back the next day with a good attitude still, and kind of with the bad practice out of your mind, and attack the next practice and see if it goes a little better.
Cool.
It's you seem to have such a level-headed approach to like highs and lows, because anybody you're talking to right now, if they missed 2 events at World Champs because they were sick, it would have been the end of their world. For instance, we missed a lot of racing because of the quarantine time we go through, and it took a lot for some of these athletes to get over that. Your approach to just kind of living in the moment and being the best with whatever your situation is really, it's something that's pretty refreshing and pretty awesome. Is that something that you've consciously done, or just the way you feel like you've always been?
I don't know. In the moment, it's, those moments are hard. Yeah. Certainly I wasn't happy during World Championships to be in that situation or to have to experience that. But, I kept trying to look forward and tried to get back to my races towards the end of the week. I had that as the goal, to just, get back to racing as quickly as I could, which I was able to do. And then I think coming out of that, what I kept telling myself, which I think is very applicable to the situation we're in right now, is, the hard work that you put in doesn't just disappear. You still put it in the bank. And so I had a really, really good year of training leading into the World Championships. And so I just kept telling myself, that I'm going to start my training for this next season at a higher level because of that good training that I put in that year leading up to it. And just because I wasn't able to see those results, knew that I had all of that training built up and that it was gonna help me. And I kept telling myself that, and I didn't really know how much I believed it until I started training again. And I definitely got back to, that really good training much faster than I had in previous seasons. I think because of the good training that I had that whole year, and kind of that attitude of knowing that training just doesn't disappear. You've built that up. You've learned how to train and get better. I mean, I think sometimes you're almost training to train, which isn't a bad thing. I think you want to try to see progress in training. And I think, for all the swimmers right now that aren't training, just know and trust that training that you've done all year doesn't go away. And even though you're not in the water and keeping that same kind of feel, when you get back in the water, you're going to be fine. You're going to get back into shape a lot faster than you think and expect. I personally also have a really hard time taking breaks, even at the end of a season, taking a week or two off. The whole week or two, I'm, getting really eager and worried that I'm never going to get back in shape again. But, I always do, and we always do. And I think we just have to trust in the training that we've put in and trust in our coaches that they're going to be able to get us back in shape pretty quickly. I trust Tim and Jeremy to do that.
Katie, do you think that's part of how you're going to deal with, obviously, the Olympics being moved? And, obviously you're building up to, and then all of a sudden, finally, it's another year later. Is that helped you deal with, that kind of the postponement and whatnot?
Yeah, I'm kind of looking at it pretty similarly to what I just said. It's another year I get to train and try to get better. And it's tough not having something like Omaha or Tokyo or those travel trips to look forward to compete and race the best this summer. But still having that ahead of us, and knowing that that's ahead of us in 2021, that's really motivating. And it's kind of like we've been in this Olympic year this year, and we just get another year of it. It's kind of like 2 Olympic years back to back, where it's just super focused, super motivated. And I'm just trying to carry that over right now and kind of take it to that next level once we're able to get back into the full swing of things.
Pretty cool.
So, Katie, I have one more question for you from Eleanor. She was asking about how do you balance school and swimming and then also friendships? Do you have any tips or tricks, or how do you compartmentalize that?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that's something that I learned when I was your age, everyone on the chat, in high school and middle school, even when those early morning practices started, that balance, I think, became even more important. And what I really learned is how to work ahead as much as I could. And so in school, I tried to stay on top of my readings and my assignments. In high school, they sometimes come out with the assignments, weeks in advance. And so I could work ahead a little bit on the weekends. And when I had swim meets and was going to miss a couple days for traveling here and there, I would try to really look ahead and communicate with my teachers about what days I was going to miss and what assignments I could get on top of, or tests that I needed to take or take at a different time. I think that communication piece is really important. And I think if you stay on top of things, I think you'll find that you'll have a little more time to spend time with your friends and spend time, getting to bed early, on time. And if you stay on top of your homework, you can get to bed earlier during the week and be able to wake up for those 4 a.m. practices with a little more energy too.
It's hearing the way you talk about it and hearing that social aspect come last, I wanted to make sure I was on top of my schoolwork so that I could be in front of it for my swimming. And then if I had some time and built in there, I might get some social. Do you feel like there were some sacrifices based on what you're trying to achieve? It's a pretty big thing, and it takes a lot of time and effort. You got to get rest. You got to have good nutrition. You got to stay ahead of your homework. So when a sacrifice comes in, was that a big thing for you?
It's never something that I've looked at as a sacrifice. And I think a big part of that goes to what we were talking about, my teammates, and how I kind of feel like that's always been my big social time, and the time that, I get to be with all my friends. I think, 80 to 90% of my best friends have always been my teammates. And so, chatting with them before and after practice. That's why I loved getting to practice early. I could just goof off with my teammates. Tim, you probably have memories of Audrey and me on deck. What did we do? We used to race, I think, outside the water. We were just so silly and goofy, and it was things like that I just loved being with my teammates and spending time with them. And certainly I spend time with my friends outside of swimming as well, especially on the weekends. And now at Stanford, I have more time to do that. You see your friends a little more often when you're all, on campus or taking classes together. But yeah, it's a balance, and it's a tricky balance. And I think everyone has to kind of find their sweet spot. I feel like I've never had to sacrifice school for swimming or swimming for school. I think I've always gone to the practices that my coaches wanted me to go to, and still get to bed early and do my homework. If that meant that I had to do homework on the car ride to practice or the car ride home from practice, I would do that. And just staying on top of things best that I could.
Pretty cool. Well, Katie, thank you so much for taking this time. I know I'm gonna let Jeremy, since Tom got kind of booted off, Jeremy, tell a little bit, and then I got one last question for you, Katie, before we go. But Jeremy's got some a pretty neat kickoff for next week's chat with the coaches. Jeremy, why don't you tell us a little bit about who's coming to visit next week?
Sure, Katie, you brought a lot of excitement to our Sunday this week. It was really special to get an opportunity to connect with you, and we're hoping to kind of build that opportunity to see some Sundays go like this one did. And for next Sunday, same time, 4 p.m. And same format. Fitter Faster is offered to host that for us. Thank you so much, Chloe. My 1996 400 medley relay is going to get together. That's backstroker Jeff Rouse, breaststroker myself, butterflyer Mark Henderson from our club, and then Gary Hall Jr., our freestyler. So those guys have very graciously offered their time to spend with us next Sunday, and I think it's going to be really cool to get those four guys working off of each other and the fun that'll ensue with that. So everybody super welcome to be there. Hopefully we'll see everybody. And Katie, if you want to come watch too, you're more than welcome.
Yeah, maybe I'll just watch and type some questions in the.
Careful, Chloe will kick you out.
Harass them.
They did pretty good. The chat was pretty good today. So thank you guys for being
great.
For being professional.
Awesome. Well, Katie, thanks again. And for anybody who knows me, I'm not a real high-tech savvy guy, but I was trying to watch some questions, and I had to ask this last question. It's just a yes or no answer, and we don't know what the two-letter word is, so the answer has to be the three-letter word. But someone asked, after you're done swimming, are you going to come back and coach at NCAP? You've got to let us know that one. We're waiting for that answer. Right?
Yes, in some capacity, even if it's just as a guest coach, I'd be happy to join either of you, Jeremy, Tim.
You're welcome out west.
Yeah, always.
Please say hello to all of the NCAP coaches for me. There's some of them that I haven't seen in a couple of years, so it'd be fun to see sometime soon. Once we're all able to get back together, I hope that I'll be able to get home sometime soon and see some family and some familiar faces.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Katie. We appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thanks, guys. See you later.
Awesome.
Thank you, David Arnold. Thank you, David.
Good. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.